Hello my dear children, welcome to a brand new chapter, chapter 2, Nutrition in Animals. In the previous chapter we have seen that plants have the ability to make their own food. They use carbon dioxide and water to make glucose and oxygen. Since the plant can make their own food, they call them as autotrophs, while animals, they cannot synthesize their own food. They have to depend directly or indirectly on the plant for their energy need, and hence we call them as heterotrophs. Even some animals can eat both the plant based diet as well as the animal based diet. So in animal nutrition there are three main aspects, three main components. First one being the nutrient requirement, second the mode of intake of food, and finally the utilization of the nutrients inside the body. Also in the previous chapter we studied that the food contains various components like carbohydrate, proteins, fats, lipids and many more. These food components are really complex, so they have to be converted to its simpler form, and the process of converting the complex food components to simple accessible form is called digestion. The mode of taking food into the body varies in different organisms. For instance, bees and hummingbirds, they suck the nectar of the plant. Infants of humans and many other animals feeds on mother's milk. Snakes like python swallow the animals they prey upon. Some aquatic animals filter tiny food particles floating nearby and feed upon them. Now let's talk about digestion in humans. We take in food through the mouth, later digest it and utilize it. The unabsorbed materials, we call them as waste, are finally ejected out from your body, we term as fecus. The food passes through a tube like structure, we call them as alimentary canal, starting from the mouth and it ends in anus. We may divide the alimentary canal, or we call them as digestive systems, into different main compartments like the buccal cavity, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, rectum and large intestine, finally ending up in a small opening called anus. As the food passes through the different compartments of your digestive system, the food will be getting broken down into simpler substances. The walls of stomach and small intestine, along with the salivary gland, liver and pancreas, they produce a secretion called fluids, also known as the digestive juices. These secretions helps the food to break down into the smaller pieces. So we may say that the alimentary canal plus its associated glands together makes the digestive system. Now we will study in detail what happens to the food components while reaching the different compartments of your digestive system. First we will talk about the buccal cavity. The food is taken into the body through the mouth, and the process of intaking of food we call them as ingestion. The food is later broken down to smaller pieces with the help of our teeth. So the teeth helps the food to be broken down into smaller pieces mechanically. Each tooth is rooted in a separate socket in the gum. Our teeth vary in appearances and perform different functions. The different types of teeth present in our mouth are incisors, canines, premolars and the molars. The first set of teeth that you find in an individual is called the milk teeth or deciduous teeth. There are 20 number of deciduous teeth or milk teeth for us, and it will be replaced by the age of 9, and there comes a permanent set of teeth having 32 numbers of teeth. Our buccal cavity contains specialized gland called salivary gland. They produces salivary juice or saliva. The saliva's function is to break down complex carbohydrate into simpler form. Tongue is a muscular fleshy organ which is attached to the back end of your buccal cavity. They helps in even mixing of the food with the saliva, also helps in swallowing of the food. Tongue also helps to detect the specific taste of the food. Here you can see a small projections that you seen, a small bump that you seen on the surface of the tongue, that is called the taste buds. There are millions of taste buds in each tongue which detects specific taste of the food being taken. Now let's see what's tooth decay. Normally inside our buccal cavity there are many bacteria present which are actually good for us. In fact, these bacteria helps in digestion of the food. However, if we don't clean your teeth after your meal, various other bacteria, various other harmful bacteria can grow on your mouth and digest the leftover foods, releasing acids. These acids can damage your teeth, leading to tooth decay. If it is not treated in time, it causes severe toothache, and in extreme cases, result is the tooth loss. Chocolate, sweets, soft drinks and other sugar products are the major culprits of the tooth decay. Therefore, one should clean the teeth with the brush and dental floss. Once the food gets swallowed, the food reaches the food pipe. The food passes through the food pipe through a specialized mechanism called peristalsis. That is, the food is moved through inside the food pipe with the help of the muscles present in the wall of the esophagus. Even if you are taking the food upside down, the food will reach from esophagus to your stomach. The movement of the food inside the food pipe is not under the pull of gravitation. Stomach. It is a thick walled bag having a shape of flat J-shaped structure. It is the most widest part of our alimentary canal. Our stomach receives the food from the food pipe, and the other end of the stomach is connected to the small intestine. Stomach just do the function of churning of the food, thereby digesting the protein present in our food. The inner lining of the stomach have a specialized gland called gastric gland. It produces gastric juice, which contains mucus, hydrochloric acids and the enzymes. The hydrochloric acid released by the gastric gland help in killing the microorganisms, if any, present in our food molecule, and also helps in digestion of the food particles. The HCl so produced, the hydrochloric acid so produced can even damage the wall of the stomach. That's why the mucus are released. Mucus will make a protective covering around the inner wall of the stomach so as to prevent the corrosion from the hydrochloric acid. So, mucus function is to line the inner wall of the stomach from corrosion. Finally, we have the enzyme secreted by the gastric gland. Its function is to convert or digest protein molecules, protein components to its simplest form. The food from the stomach later pass on to the small intestine. Small intestine is a highly coiled structure of our alimentary canal. Small intestine receives the secretion or the digestive juices from the liver and the pancreas. Small intestine inner wall also produces digestive juices called succus entericus. So, as the food passes through the small intestine, the partially digested food will be mixed with the secretions from liver, pancreas and the succus entericus. The liver is a reddish brown gland situated in the upper part of the abdomen on the right side. It is the largest gland in the body. It secretes bile juice that is stored in a sac called gallbladder. And the bile's function is to break down the bigger fat molecules into smaller fat globules, and this process of breaking down larger fat into smaller fat globules are called emulsification, thereby helping in the digestion of fat. The bile also plays an important role in maintaining the optimum condition for the digestion of other food components. Next is the pancreas. It is a large cream colored gland located just below the stomach. The pancreas juice acts on carbohydrate, fats and proteins, and they change them into the simpler forms. The partially digested food now reaches to the lower end of the small intestine. From there, it mixes with the succus entericus. Succus entericus is the secretion from your small intestine wall, thereby completing the process of digestion. That is, succus entericus makes the final digestion of your food components into the most simplest accessible form. So, in summary, carbohydrate will be broken down in simplest form called glucose, whereas protein will be converted or digested to amino acids, fats will be converted to fatty acids and glycerols. Once the digestion is completed, the digested food particle, the digested components has to be absorbed by the wall of the small intestine. So, now the digested food components or the simplest form of food components like the amino acids, glucose, fatty acids and glycerols pass on to the blood vessels present inside the inner wall of small intestine, and this process is called absorption. The function of absorption is facilitated by a specialized structure called microvilli. The inner wall of small intestine contains thousands of minute finger-like structures present inside them. We call them as microvilli. Microvilli helps to increase the area of absorption. Each villi is designed with a specialized minute blood vessels in them. So, as the food gets absorbed to the wall of the small intestine through the microvilli, the digested food materials will be passed on to the blood streams. Now, the blood will take the digested food components to different parts of your body. Now, the digested food matters, once reaching your different organs or tissues, they are then utilized for releasing of energy or various other life activities. The process of utilization of the digested food matters by the cell is called assimilation. The undigested food matters present in the small intestine will be later sent to the large intestine. Large intestines are much more wider than small intestine, but they are in fact shorter with 1.5 meter long. The main function of the large intestine is to absorb the water present in the undigested food matter and also to absorb as well as to absorb the salt present in them. As the water is absorbed from the waste material, they becomes more and more concentrated. We term it as fecus. It is now then passed on. The large intestine also secretes some mucus so that the waste or the fecus can be easily moved through the large intestine and will be sent to the rectum. Rectum stores the fecus temporarily and later expel out through the anus, and this process of expelling the waste through the anus is called defecation. The buffalo or any grass eating animals, they continues to chew the food that they have intaken, and even if they are not eating anything, they continue chewing the food. Actually, they quickly swallow the grass and store it in a part of stomach called rumen. Here the food get partially digested, and this partially digested food is called the cud. But later the cud returns to the mouth in small lumps and the animal chews it. This process is called rumination, and that's why the animals are called ruminants. The grass is rich in cellulose. It's a type of carbohydrate. In ruminants like cattle, deer, etc., there is a bacteria present in the rumens helps in the digestion of cellulose. Animals like horse, they have a large sac-like structure called cecum between the esophagus and the small intestine. Now, look at the amoeba. They are a unicellular organisms. Like us, they also survive with the food they are intaking in them. There are many minute sac-like structure present inside the amoeba called the food vacuoles. Once the amoeba senses the food around them, they extend the cytoplasm producing pseudopodia. Pseudo means false, podia means leg. So, pseudopodia are in fact the false leg or a temporary mouth. Each pseudopodia have two functions. One is to absorb or catch the food. Secondly, for locomotion. So, with the help of pseudopodia, amoeba takes in the food towards the cytoplasm and they are get encapsulated inside the small food vacuole. Food vacuole, just like our stomach, they helps in digesting the food components. Later, the digested parts or the digested food matters are absorbed by the cytoplasm of the amoeba, while the waste are later ejected out from their body. So, here we have seen that the basic pattern of food digestion and the energy release are same in almost all types of organisms. And dear children, with this we are winding up this chapter. We'll see you with a new chapter soon. Until then, take care. Bye bye.